Hey everybody!
Hello!
We are back for another video, and we're talking about the importance of understanding scripture. And in this video, we're talking about application. So why is application important? I did look up the definition of this one too, but this one I looked up and I got the definition from Merriam-Webster's dictionary. And it says, an act of applying. I was like, oh, that's so helpful. And then it said, an act of putting something to use, application of new techniques, or a use to which something is put new applications for old remedies. So, obviously, it's important to be able to apply what you read in the Bible to your life. Otherwise, you're not getting very much out of it for yourself. Not that that should be the whole of it, right? We obviously have other videos where we talked about the context and the culture, and these are all important as a whole, not just individually. But I like this because when I'm reading the Bible, I do look at the context and the culture, but a lot of times God is speaking directly to me, and it applies directly to my life in what He's saying to me. And I think a lot of that has to do with my relationship with the Lord, obviously. Now, can He talk to you without having a relationship? I don't know, because I've only ever, experienced it where, He's using His word to speak directly to me.
I mean, I've sometimes had a thought go across my head. I'm like, okay, that was obviously from the Lord, but it's like I've never heard Him verbally.
Well, no, that's not what I mean.
Oh, okay.
I mean, like, in the Word. When I'm in the Bible and I'm reading and I'm whatever that scripture is, I needed that verse in that moment.
Okay.
So that's what I mean by application of that. Like, it's the Bible, coming alive because the Lord's using that scripture to talk directly to me. It doesn't happen all the time, but there's a lot of moments where, He's taking this, whatever this scripture is, and it just is directly to my heart, and,
Right.
and it applies. It applies to whatever's going on in my life or, certain situations. And He's using that scripture to speak to me.
Right.
What do you think? What are your thoughts on application?
I mean, I think, well, for me, it's like when I was always taught, it's like there's one interpretation of a scripture, but there's different applications.
Right.
But I mean, not every single thing might have an application. Like Jesus wept. I'm like, oh, how can I apply this to my life? But I don't think that.
Well, I think that it's funny because when we did Bible studies with the college group,
Okay.
Larry had to teach on a specific chapter, and it was all on like building or something, and he's like, how am I supposed to make this applicable? And I mean, he did, and he was able to do it, but it was like there was more informational things than there was application, which that of course is going to happen. Yeah.
But it's just like, I mean, if you could find an application somehow, like you found the application out of
in that
with
devotional.
Stephen.
Yep.
So it's like I would have never thought that. But like even like this morning, I had read something in Jeremiah. God was talking to Jeremiah, obviously, but something that in the context it was for Jeremiah. But in application, I'm like, oh, God thinks of me that way as well,
right?
So it's just like,
yeah, it's just I think that with application, I think a lot of that has to do with your walk with the Lord and what He's teaching you in the moment,
And plus there are also some things like special gifts or something or a special thing like only certain people had for that time.
Are you talking about like the prophets?
Probably like the prophets. I know like the two witnesses, Jesus had some things that he did or like that he will have or will do that doesn't apply to us. It's just for those specific people at that specific time.
Yeah,
if that
I'm
makes
looking.
sense.
It does. I'm looking, I guess, more at like how you can take scripture and apply that to your life for the most part. Like,
Okay, oh, sorry.
Oh, no,
I might
it's
be
okay.
thinking of weirdly.
no, you're fine. I mean, it's good because, like, this is why we're talking about it.
Right.
Because, you
Yeah.
don't know. But I guess that was my main thought, was how I apply the scripture. And sometimes I think God will, like, if I'm reading one verse or whatever, that scripture will apply to my life in that moment. And then, like, years down the line, I'll read that same verse, but yet he's talking about it for me for something completely different the next time. Or like when I studied Moses, that was really cool. I had prayed and I just said, God, I feel like I know the story of Moses because it's, taught on a lot. And I'm like, show me something new in this so that, I'm learning more about you in a way that's, so I don't feel like it's the same thing over and over. And he did. He showed me something new. But I think application in that way. But you can use it in the way you were saying too, right? People applying different things, like spiritual things, you're saying.
Right.
So, to their lives. And I think that can be used as well. But again, within the right, I don't know the right word, but like,
Context.
I was thinking context, but yeah, within the right context of what you're trying to do, right? It's, but mainly I was thinking like towards scripture, but
Okay.
other ways it could be applied.
Yeah.
Also, so applied. Feel like I did that. So, what are your thoughts on the application of like scripture? Do you feel like that too? Like
Applying it to your life.
yeah, and like how God can use sometimes the same scripture, but in different seasons of your life, maybe. But it, it's talking to you about something different, but it's the same scripture. Does that ever happen?
And that's hard because it's like I feel like I know things, like I know passages that like I've read this so many times, but it hits me in a new way. I just at the top of my head I can't exactly think of anything.
Yeah, but it's happened to you though.
Oh yeah, it's like I like you read something like 5 million times, and for some reason the one time it just jumps out at you, and I'm like, why in a new way? Like with Jeremiah, it's like I've read Jeremiah who knows how many times, and that particular verse never jumped out at me the way it did until this morning.
Yeah.
So it's just, I'm like, whoa. So that kind of thing. Or you read a verse so many times, and then, one particular day that verse comes, you're like, okay, this is when I have to apply this here.
Right.
So it's just cool that the Lord works in different ways with
Yeah.
His Word.
I agree, and I feel like within application, not all the time, but within application, I think that's when God is using His Word to speak to you for the most part. Whereas within the context and the culture of what we talked about previously, that's a lot of you digging in,
Right.
and you're learning about different things. And this is you're still learning, but really the Lord has to work the application into your life. You can't really do that. You have to ask the Lord to help you with the application, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, some of it you can obviously gain your own understanding, but I think when God's speaking directly to you about a specific thing, He's got to be able to give that to you, not, I feel like it's more divine, if that makes any sense.
Right.
Like you said, like that one time you read that, even though you've read Jeremiah before, that one time you read it, it's like that's when the Lord was like, this is when I want you to hear this particular thing.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
and I think that's pretty amazing too. So. Anyway, do you have anything else on
Nope.
application? Yep, me neither. So, you guys, if you have anything interesting about, some of the things you guys are learning and how it's being applied to your life, we'd love to hear that. And otherwise, we will see you in the next video.
Bye.
Bye.